Dante's Boxing Nation, Dante's Cooking Nation. We are out here. Where are we at?
We're out here in Bangkok.
There you go. She's from Ireland. Matter of fact, introduce yourself to the world.
My name's Hannah and I'm from Ireland and I'm the biggest fan of people in China.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Biggest fan?
And I'm from Ireland. Sorry.
No, I can edit it. Don't worry about it. All the way in Bangkok, Thailand, y'all.
No,
I'm gonna get
in
it right.
Ireland as well.
In Ireland, you hear that? DBN is international,
My
guys.
churros are ready now.
You know, if I was a regular fan, I probably would love it. But I was disappointed because I didn't see the art and I was short. And I asked Lennox Lewis and he said, yeah. He said, God, you heard him. He said, yeah, I didn't see that. So I can't, look at me. I had the World Heavyweight Championship twice. I could talk okay. There's a lot of boxers, they can't talk. I had a good trainer. You know, I put him like this. I put him like this. I put him like this. And it looks pretty. The art of boxing looks pretty. Step back like this, here, throw the punches, here, up there. You didn't see none of that. You didn't see that slip, bam, bam. Okay? And that's what I was looking for.
The art of boxing looks pretty. Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Let me start by saying this. I told you guys many times before the fight, and I told you right after the fight in my post-fight video, that both fighters, Wilder and Tyson Fury, they have a lot to lose in this fight. Because if Wilder loses, that means even when Tyson Fury wasn't cheating, he still couldn't beat him. And if Tyson Fury loses, that means he could only beat Deontay Wilder when he was cheating. There is no doubt about it that Tyson Fury is the better man over Deontay Wilder. But with that being said, we also know that Tyson Fury, he definitely beat the least skilled, especially American champion in boxing today. We already know that. I have always told you guys that Deontay Wilder does not beat fighters with skill. He beats fighters with his will and that right hand that he has. That's how he wins fights. That's his equalizer. And that's what made him so dangerous, because you can outbox Deontay Wilder the whole night, but you got to do it without getting in touch with that right hand. And that was a hard thing for a lot of fighters to do. And Tyson Fury, he knows that very well. He found that out in the first fight, and he definitely found that out in a third fight when he was fighting against a Deontay Wilder that was out on his feet, and he was still getting knocked down by Deontay Wilder. My point is, we already knew Deontay Wilder was not known for skill. He was the least skilled fighter, like I said, out of all of the American champions. Hands down, it's not even close. But he had that equalizer, which made up for his flaws. See, guys, the thing is, normally, once again, when we're talking about the fighter that lacks skill, we're talking about Deontay Wilder. But as we've seen in this fight, and as you heard from Tim Witherspoon and even from Lennox Lewis, neither one of these fighters really displayed the art or really any skill. The only difference is Tyson showed more skill than Deontay Wilder. The reason why Tim Witherspoon and Lennox Lewis and other people, by the way, even Teddy Atlas, who is a huge Tyson Fury fan, and he can't stand Deontay Wilder. After this fight, surprisingly, Teddy Atlas, he was really praising Deontay Wilder, and he really made it sound like it was more of Deontay Wilder's fight to lose as opposed to Tyson Fury just being the better man. You know, he didn't really explain it like it was a very impressive performance by Tyson Fury. There's no doubt about it. Tyson found a way to get the job done. But my point is, all of these people are criticizing Tyson Fury's performance because he was the guy with the skill. He was the guy that was supposed to be in there outboxing and looking flashy, etc., etc. We see none of that in this fight. And I think that's going to be a major problem for Tyson Fury going in the ring with anybody else. Fighters that are complete fighters. Fighters that, once again, they use all of their tools in the toolbox and not just the right hand. And a wild right hand at that, because that's the right hand we didn't even see a nice right hand in this third fight from Deontay Wilder. Even his best punch looked extremely wild. You know, there's a reason why we have a pound for pound list for all the fighters in every division. It means all of these fighters are being compared to each other. Who is the best overall, right? So I put a poll together where I asked the question, if they were all in the same weight class, right? All same natural weight. It could be in the welterweight division, the middleweight division, the heavyweight division, whatever. They're all the same weight. But let's just say maybe Tyson Fury, he still has a major height advantage over everyone else. So let's just say if it's welterweight, Tyson is 2 to 4 inches taller than everyone he faces. Like I said, in that scenario, I asked the question, who beats Tyson Fury? Terrence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, Gervonta Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson, or all of the above? And as you guys can see, with 17,000 votes, the majority of fans said all of the above. And by the way, I was going to include none of the above, but I couldn't because you can only put 5 options. But you see, it really doesn't matter because the majority of fans picked all of the above, which means that Tyson Fury is the least skilled fighter out of all of the best boxers in the world. Now, once again, remember, before Deontay Wilder lost, we had already knew that he was the least skilled because he beat fighters with his power and his willpower. Now, and of course, the results of this poll, it upset a lot of Tyson Fury fans. They immediately started to try to defend Tyson, saying, well, this is not a fair comparison. It's not a fair question because Tyson Fury is a heavyweight and things are different when you're a heavyweight. But listen, we all know that if I would have put Mike Tyson in that poll, like I said, instead of using Tyson Fury, the Mike Tyson in his prime, and I put him up against all these other fighters asking who's the best fighter, I can guarantee you the results would be a lot more closer because Mike Tyson was one of the most skilled boxers in heavyweight history. In fact, as aggressive as Mike Tyson was, it could be argued that he was the best defensive heavyweight, at least when he was in his prime. You would seldomly ever hit Mike Tyson with flush shots. His defense was impeccable. And then you have other heavyweights like Lennox Lewis, like Riddick Bowe, the Klitschko bros. I mean, all of these fighters, we know if they were in any other divisions, they would still be a problem. They would still be extremely competitive with all the other best fighters in all of the different weight classes, is the point. It's only Tyson Fury that fans feel is the least skilled, the least talented out of all of the current best fighters in the world today. Something else, you can't use the, oh, he's 6'9", and, what makes him so unique at the heavyweight division is this and this. If that were the case, then Lennox Lewis and Tim Witherspoon wouldn't be talking about how they're disappointed because they seen no skill. I am telling you guys right now, after watching this version of Tyson Fury that we just seen, once again, for it to take him 11 rounds to knock out a guy that was out on his feet since like the 3rd round, because this is what Deontay Wilder said. Because people asked, or at least his team was asking him, why did you look so tired early on, like the whole fight? And Wilder said, I wasn't tired. He said in the 3rd round, Tyson Fury caught him with a punch to the ear that knocked off his equilibrium. And he said he was out of it. He was out on his feet the whole night, which explains why he was staggering all around the ring the whole night. I mean, I just remember there were times, and I'm sure you guys probably remember this as well, Tyson would hit Deontay Wilder with a punch and Deontay Wilder's legs would just cross. I mean, it was the type of stuff you see from fighters that are out on their feet. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with the video game Fight Night. You remember when you get hurt, you hear that whistling sound? Well, it looked like Tyson Fury, or it looked like Deontay Wilder was fighting with that whistling sound going on the whole night. So once again, I truly believe if it took Tyson Fury 11 rounds to get this version of Deontay Wilder out of there, when he really had nothing that he was throwing back other than a wild right hand, Tyson Fury is going to have a lot of problems with all of the other young heavyweights, including his mandatory Dillian Whyte. The thing with Dillian Whyte, guys, is Tyson Fury, since he's been in the heavyweight division, he's never fought a complete fighter. I have to keep repeating this point because there's always new subscribers and some people don't catch the previous videos, so I'm gonna say it again. Hands down, Tyson Fury has the best resume right now in the heavyweight division. But with that being said, let's look at the two best fighters he beat. He beat Vladimir Klitschko and he beat Deontay Wilder. Vladimir Klitschko was a jabbing, grabbing fighter. That was his strategy. That's what he did. He would jab you and grab you, jab you and grab you, and try to set you up with a hard right hand, right? And then when it comes to Deontay Wilder, he just tries to land nothing but the right hand. He doesn't even have a jab, right? So neither one of these fighters were complete fighters. They were both good heavyweights. They were both dangerous, but they were not complete fighters. Fighters like Dillian Whyte, fighters like Jared Anderson, fighters like Frank Sanchez, who just beat a Jabba, right? Even Joe Joyce, these are complete fighters. Why? Because they have all of the tools and they use them. They are going to throw everything in the book, right? These are those type of fighters that Tim Witherspoon was talking about when he says he didn't see any art. He didn't see the art of boxing. You see that in fighters like Dillian Whyte and all those other fighters that I just mentioned. You know, it's really revealing to hear a champion, a former heavyweight champion, say what he said about Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder's performance, because this was one of the biggest heavyweight fights, right? Especially of recent time. And we all know that we never heard anyone criticizing a lack of skill being displayed when it came to fights like Lewis versus Vitaly Klitschko, Mike Tyson versus anybody, right? Holyfield versus anybody. We never heard this kind of stuff. The Klitschkos, we never heard anyone say, where was the skill? Where was the art of boxing? We only heard this when it came to Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. I am telling you guys right now, Dillian Whyte is going to give Tyson Fury a lot of problems. I don't know for sure who's going to win that fight because I do believe it's a 50-50 fight. But I truly believe Dillian Whyte has a very, very good chance of beating Tyson Fury, especially the version we just seen against Deontay Wilder. And the main reason I'm talking about Dillian Whyte is because he is Tyson Fury's mandatory. Tyson has already been ordered to fight him next. He can't skip over him and go fight Usyk because Usyk already has to fight against Anthony Joshua. As long as Anthony Joshua doesn't step aside, Tyson is going to have to fight Dillian Whyte. Now, I've been talking about the Whyte fight ever since, Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder. And it's just so funny because every time I bring his name up, Dillian Whyte is garbage, etc., etc. He doesn't deserve to fight Tyson Fury. Tyson shouldn't fight him, etc. They're saying all of these things, right? But the funny thing is, these are the same fans that were saying Deontay Wilder needs to fight Dillian Whyte. When Dillian wasn't even his mandatory, they were saying he needs to fight Dillian Whyte. He's ducking Dillian Whyte because this was the time when Deontay Wilder, he was going after Anthony Joshua. Meanwhile, these fans, they continue to say, oh yeah, you're ducking Dillian Whyte. You're scared of him. Now, all of a sudden, they're saying that Dillian Whyte is a bum and doesn't deserve to fight Tyson Fury. He has no chance and all these other things. We know what time it is, right? Listen, Bob Arum has already made it clear that he wants to make this fight next. He said this fight would be huge in the UK, which it obviously would be. So there's really no reason for the fight not to happen. But I would not be surprised if Tyson Fury, he tries to find a way out. Remember, guys, Tyson knows Dillian Whyte very well. Dillian Whyte, he knocked down Tyson Fury multiple times in sparring. So I'm just thinking to myself, Tyson's got to be saying to himself, man, if Dillian was able to do that to me with bigger gloves and headgear, imagine how dangerous this man is going to be with regular 10-ounce gloves, right? And no headgear. Not to mention Dillian Whyte is going to be almost the same weight as Tyson Fury. So Tyson won't be able to win a wrestling match. or it's going to be a lot more harder. So even though Tyson Fury gets a lot of credit for being the first man to knock out the undefeated heavyweight champion in Deontay Wilder, I think it will be far more impressive for him to go in there and completely dominate or knock out Dillian Whyte, because once again, Dillian Whyte is a complete fighter. He has a skill set Tyson Fury's previous opponents had. So let's see if the fight gets made. Let's see if Tyson Fury takes the fight or just tries to find a way to vacate. But it would make no sense for him to vacate, because then he won't be able to fight Usyk for the undisputed or fight Anthony Joshua for the undisputed title. So let's see how it all plays out. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Get ready to take your striking game to the next level with the Focus Ball. Dramatically improved footwork, timing, head movement, hand-eye coordination, reflex, and overall fight IQ. It's lightweight and extremely portable, so you can train every time, everywhere. When you don't have a coach to do mitt work, get a Focus Ball. When you don't have a heavy bag to hit, get a Focus Ball. When you don't have a sparring partner, get yourself a Focus Ball. And when you just want to have fun punching and kicking, get a Focus Ball. When you train with the Focus Ball, you train your eyes and your brain to read punches so that you can hit and not get hit, making this very simple device a must-have for all combat sports athletes and enthusiasts alike. So if you want to take your striking game to the next level, don't wait. Get the Focus Ball now.
All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, then this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elo Deki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodeki.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Fellas, I've got some great news for you. If you've lost your hair or have a receding hairline, the time has come when you can finally get your hairline back through a process called scalp micropigmentation. So here's how it works. It's a hair tattoo that replicates the look of your hair follicles when you have fully shaved it down. So to get this hookup, make sure you follow and contact my man ScalpCarolinas on Instagram. Contact them at 704-499-3471 and make sure you follow them on Instagram.